tools to know while most of the time on a project is spent reading your and others' code, the time you invest in writing code has to be as productive as possible. We all know that the tools don't make the programmer, but they can help you increment your efficiency while building software. We'll talk about code editors, IDEs, task organization dashboards, and other general use tools you may need to use now or in one of your future projects. Of course, some of the following software has a subscription cost, so consider this when choosing your toolset. If you have spent some decent time in the industry, you probably have heard about JetBrains, the company behind Kotlin and some of the most used IDEs worldwide. Whether you code in Python or you're good at designing websites with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you'll find a fully loaded IDE for you. JetBrains IDEs have all the features you need to build any kind of software. For example, PyCharm, a favorite of mine, used for Python development, includes almost everything you could ask for. Debugger, intelligent Python assistance, support for web and scientific frameworks, the ability to code in other technologies, you name it. Also, you can install plugins to supercharge the functionality of any of their IDEs. As an illustration, you can customize the style of your IDE by installing the Dracula theme, or if you love Vim shortcuts, but you want all the features of JetBrains IDE, you can get the Idea Vim plugin. As a final tip, if you're not ready to pay for a full-featured JetBrains IDE, you can start with an educational IDE like PyCharm Edu or IntelliJ IDEA Edu, for Java and Kotlin development. GitHub is the most used platform for managing and Git repositories. It's a freemium service that makes collaboration, development, automation, and deployment in software projects of any kind much easier. Most professional developers have a GitHub account in which they expose their best projects and inventions. The best part is that you can interact with other people by collaborating with their repos via pull requests or opening issues. It's almost impossible to establish yourself in the industry without a good knowledge of Git and GitHub. Once you realize that creating software implies working with many people, this becomes much more evident. There are other services like GitHub, for instance, GitLab and Bitbucket. Of course, GitHub is the most popular, but the two mentioned are excellent options. Especially GitLab, which is a totally open source project. Is an open source system agnostic software used for building automation of programs written in C and CXX, e.g., C++ languages. It's been used for vastly known projects like KDE and MySQL and by companies like Netflix or HDF Group. It uses scripts called CMake lists to generate build files for a specific OS. It's pretty easy to use and generates the build files outside the source code. CMake has extensive documentation for every version out there, as well as a big community. It's often used along with popular IDEs like a JetBrains IDE, CLion, Visual Studio, Xcode, and Eclipse. CMake has extensive documentation for every version out there, as well as a big community. It's often used along with popular IDEs like a JetBrains IDE, CLion, Visual Studio, Xcode, and Eclipse. If you're a Java developer who wants to build modern web applications, you'll love Vaadin. It is an open-source platform that simplifies the process of creating web apps with Java by giving you all the components, frameworks, collaboration, and testing tools you'll need. It even has a collaboration engine that helps you be more productive and take control of sensitive data. You may already know that Java is used in the backend, and you should use other technologies like React or Angular. This can be tedious and certainly a large process. With Vaadin, you don't need to build backend and frontend separately, making your workflow extremely effective. You can get started for free as this is an open source project and upgrade if you need commercial features. It integrates directly into your workflow and toolchain, IDE, APM, logging tools, and allows you to securely add logs, metrics, and traces in real time. Lightrun grants you 100% visibility in your code, even if you have a huge monolith application or a highly distributed one. It supports multiple languages, including Python, Java, Node.js, Scala, and Kotlin. You can integrate it into your IDE with the Ligthrun IDE plugin or Lightrun CLI. The best part is that it's free for community and individual developers. Make sure to check out their plans now. I can't stress enough how important it is to learn and use Docker for big projects. Numbers say it all. Over 13 million developers are currently using this software engineering tool, and you should do so. But what is Docker then? Docker is an open-source containerization platform that packages the application and dependencies inside a container. The containers are lightweight executable packages that include all the dependencies required to run an application. This with the idea of making your app work in any environment, whether in your local machine, your teammate's computer, or in a production environment. We have a complete guide on Docker for beginners, so if you're curious, check it out. It has an Enterprise edition, but most of the time, you'll be using the Community edition, most known as the Do-It-Yourself edition. Why not begin with the Docker installation right away? Jenkins is the most flexible, powerful, and open-source automation server. It's used to build and test your software projects without going through the painful manual work. It offers a simple way to set up a C/CD environment, with tons of features and customization. It's a completely free-to-use software engineering tool built with Java, which you can extend with more than 1,500 plugins developed by the community. Jenkins is such an amazing but, frankly, complex tool. I recommend starting with the documentation since it's a well-explained resource. A lot of time learning to use Jenkins, Buddy is the perfect tool for you. With Buddy, you don't need to be an expert in DevOps to quickly set up a C/CD environment. It easily integrates with your favorite Git and deploys platforms. You have access to extensive yet digestible documentation explaining how to set up the most common tech stacks in a few minutes. Decompiler is a simple tool that lets you decompile binaries into what previously were a few lines of code. Jira is a powerful work management tool for software engineering projects. It is used as an issue tracker and management tool, but it's become widely used in agile teams. It lets your team have a unique workflow for shipping software. Jira integrates perfectly with other Atlassian products, so if you're already a user of Bitbucket, you should consider using this tool. You've seen some of the most used software engineering tools. Remember that the tools don't make the developer, but extra help will always elevate our workflow. And if time and efficiency are your main priorities, why don't you take a look at software development tools that will make you more productive? Gerard, June 6, 2019. Sebastian Trends 11 Software development tools that will make you more productive. It is important to stay on track with the fast-moving and ever-changing world of software development. There are many options when it comes to deciding on which software development tools to use for your daily tasks at work. And to build working software efficiently, you need the best software development tools around as they'll make your life a lot easier. Software development industry has been constantly changing to keep pace with the demand of products. To do that, new languages, frameworks, libraries, and tools are released almost daily. Some of them gain maturity and popularity between developers. As a developer, you will write, test, deploy, and document code, communicate with your team, and follow up the progress of the project. For each one of those mentioned processes, there are tons of tools created and deployed in the market. However, we made the effort of selecting the 10 most popular ones. The ones that are widely used by professional software development teams and the ones we use at Ubicom when we train our students to become a professional developer. 1. GitHub, the world's leading software development platform. GitHub is a web-based Git repository hosting service. In simple words, it is like a Google Drive for software projects, where you can find code. When uploading your project, you have the choice of making it public or private. The community is huge and the project base even bigger. GitHub is also an excellent place for collaborative development, where developers can discover, share, and build better software. Your code needs to be stored, tested, compiled, packaged, and deployed in order to be available for your customers. This is a repetitive task and should be automated to save you time and reduce human error. GitHub repositories and actions allows you to configure a set of tasks that will be executed once you commit or merge code to a branch. Every project that a student develops at Ubicom is stored on its personal GitHub repo. Atom. As a software developer, you will write code, so you will need a text editor. This could be obvious. There are tons of text editors on the market, but for simplicity and powerful operations we recommend Atom. It's a text editor created by GitHub. An open source code full of integrations to make your life, writing code, a lot easier. Ubicom's methodology gives you the opportunity to start coding from day one, so Atom will be one of the first tools that you'll install and use when enrolling in our programs. 3. Git is a version control system, VCS, that allows you to save your work and go back and forward easily and securely. Also, 2 or more developers could work on the same project file simultaneously. Git is the most used and widely adopted VCS. At Ubicom, since day one, we use Git to create tasks and ask for a mentor's review like in any real developer job. Git is a free and open-source distributed VCS designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with speed and efficiency. When a developer is working on something, they have to regularly make changes to the code until they get to the last version. What a version control system does is that it saves every change made, allowing others to collaborate, make changes and contribute. You will also find a copy of the code of every developer's work. 4. IntelliJ IDEA. IntelliJ is an integrated development environment. An IDE integrates all the tools that you need to develop a platform, so it has a code editor, a compiler, a debugger, etc. After IntelliJ IDEA's indexed your source code, it offers fast and intelligent experience by giving relevant suggestions in every context, instant and clever code completion, code analysis and reliable refactoring tools. With an integrated development environment, IDE, you will also write code, but it provides you, as well, with tools to execute several tasks that a text editor can't, such as debugging and test code, executing a terminal, building automations, add libraries, to name some. IntelliJ is a proprietary IDE developed by JetBrains. It has a community version, very complete, and an enterprise edition with more features. When coding Java at Ubicom, we use IntelliJ to create, debug, and test your code. 5. ESLint. ESLint is an static code analysis tool. While you are developing code, mistakes are part of the process. Linters are here to help us to detect, suggest a solution and even solve some of the errors that can exist on our code. For each language there are plenty of options. ESLint is the most popular linter for JavaScript. It can extend configuration files from organizations like Airbnb and follow their code rules. At Ubicom we configure ESLint on all projects so our students start coding following best practices. 6. Terminator. Terminator is a terminal emulator. Use Git and more commands, install packages, run your app, and check your network. These are some of the activities you will do in a terminal. Every OS has its own terminal installed, but there are always more options. Terminator is a good one. It allows you to open several sessions on a single window and personalize each one. For the sake of simplicity, our students use their OS native terminal. Once they gain experience and require a deeper use of a terminal, they'll end up using, optionally, Terminator. 7. Slack. Code is written in a community of developers. Almost nobody will create a productive and robust app for the market by itself. Development teams that follow Agile methodology will be 10 people tops. It shouldn't be an issue to communicate between the team. Nevertheless, there are plenty of tools to communicate that sometimes produce the opposite effect. Slack is where work flows. It's where the people you need, the information you share, and the tools you use come together to get things done. Slack is an amazing app that all of Ubicom team members and students use for communication. Slack really helps to reduce the amount of daily emails, plus it increased communication between different teams. In Slack we create different channels and always have a common one, where we share company news, jokes, etc. I would say it has united us even more. Also, it helps you to stay focused as each channel has its own topic. You always know where to find information and where to ask a question regarding a particular topic and instantly receive an answer. Also, you have a chat option which you can use to speak directly with each member of the team in real time, between channels. If this wasn't enough, there is also a drag and drop that's really nice to use. A feature that enables you to share all sorts of files and add comments to them, or even tag people. Highly recommended. However, I am pretty sure you already use it. Smiley face.